Over 3,000 years ago in the land of Egypt, a momentous event unfolded, one that would define faith, freedom, and divine power for generations. This is the story of the parting of the Red Sea. The story begins with the Israelites, God's chosen people, enslaved under the harsh rule of Pharaoh. They cried out to God for deliverance. Hearing their prayers, God sent Moses, a humble shepherd turned prophet, to demand their freedom. "Let my people go." But Pharaoh, blinded by pride and power, refused. In response, God unleashed 10 devastating plagues upon Egypt, from rivers of blood to swarms of locusts, breaking Pharaoh's resolve. Finally, after the death of Egypt's firstborns, Pharaoh relented. With Pharaoh's reluctant permission, Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt. Hundreds of thousands of men, women, and children marched into the desert, leaving their chains behind. But their journey to freedom was not without peril. Pharaoh, overcome with fury and regret, changed his mind. He gathered his army, chariots, horses, and soldiers, and pursued the Israelites, determined to recapture them or destroy them. As the Israelites reached the shores of the Red Sea, fear gripped their hearts. The vast waters stretched endlessly before them, while Pharaoh's army thundered closer from behind. Trapped, they turned to Moses in despair. "Why have you brought us here to die? Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring today." Then, in an act of unparalleled faith, Moses lifted his staff and stretched his hand over the sea. At that moment, the power of God manifested. A mighty wind swept through, and the waters divided, forming towering walls on either side. A dry path appeared between the walls of water, wide enough for the entire nation of Israel to pass through. With faith in God's protection, the Israelites began their journey through the parted sea. Behind them, Pharaoh's army, undeterred by the miraculous sight, pursued with determination. But God was watching. As the Egyptians entered the sea, their chariots became stuck, their movements chaotic. Fear began to grip Pharaoh's soldiers. "The Lord fights for them. Retreat." Once the Israelites reached the other side safely, Moses again stretched out his hand. The walls of water collapsed with a thunderous roar, swallowing Pharaoh's army. Not a single soldier survived. The sea returned to its place, and the Israelites stood on the far shore, free at last, witnessing the undeniable power of God. Overwhelmed with gratitude and joy, Moses and the Israelites sang a song of praise to the Lord. They celebrated his strength, his justice, and his unwavering love. "The Lord is my strength and my defense. He has become my salvation." The parting of the Red Sea is more than a story of deliverance. It's a testament to faith, courage, and the boundless power of God. It reminds us that even when we face impossible odds, with faith, the impossible becomes possible. And so, the Red Sea stands as a symbol of hope and freedom, a reminder that God's plans are always greater than our fears. Moses addressed the people saying, "Do not be afraid. Stay strong and watch as the Lord brings you deliverance today. The Egyptians you see now will never trouble you again. The Lord will fight on your behalf. You only need to stay calm and silent." Then the Lord spoke to Moses, "Why are you crying out to me? Instruct the Israelites to move forward. Raise your staff, stretch out your hand over the sea, and divide the waters so the Israelites can cross on dry ground. I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, causing them to follow, and through this, I will display my glory over Pharaoh, his army, his chariots, and his horsemen." God chose Moses to lead the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt and guide them to the land of Canaan, which he had promised to them. When Pharaoh regretted letting the Israelites go, he pursued them with his army and chariots, catching up to them at Pi-hahiroth. Following God's command, Moses stretched out his staff over the sea, and a strong east wind blew through the night, parting the waters and creating a dry path. The Israelites crossed safely, with walls of water on either side. The Egyptians followed in pursuit, but at dawn, God caused chaos in their ranks. He clogged their chariot wheels and threw them into disarray. Realizing the Lord was fighting for Israel, the Egyptians tried to retreat, but the waters rushed back, drowning Pharaoh's entire army. Witnessing God's mighty power, the Israelites put their trust in him and Moses, celebrating their deliverance with a song of praise to the Lord. Then, as the scripture recounts, Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord drove the waters back with a powerful east wind, turning the seabed into dry land. The Israelites passed through, surrounded by walls of water on both sides. The Egyptians pursued them. But during the early morning watch, the Lord, from the pillar of fire and cloud, caused confusion in the Egyptian army. He clogged their chariot wheels, making them difficult to drive. The Egyptians cried, "Let's flee from the Israelites, for the Lord is fighting for them against Egypt." Exodus 14:21-25. The Lord instructed Moses, saying, "Set apart for me every firstborn male. The first offspring from every womb, whether human or animal, belongs to me." Moses then spoke to the people. "Remember this day, the day the Lord brought you out of Egypt and freed you from slavery with his mighty power. Do not eat anything made with yeast. Today, in the month of Aviv, you are leaving. When the Lord leads you into the land of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Hivites, and Jebusites, a land flowing with milk and honey, as he promised to your ancestors, you must observe this ceremony in this month. For 7 days, eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day hold a festival to the Lord. During these 7 days, no yeast is to be found in your food or within your territory. On this day, explain to your children, 'I do this because of what the Lord did for me when he brought me out of Egypt.' This observance will serve as a sign on your hand and a reminder on your forehead, ensuring that the law of the Lord is always on your lips, for it was by his mighty hand that he delivered you from Egypt. Keep this ordinance each year at the appointed time. When the Lord brings you into the land of the Canaanites, as he swore to give to your ancestors, dedicate the firstborn of every womb to him. Every firstborn male of your livestock belongs to the Lord. Redeem every firstborn donkey with a lamb. If you do not redeem it, break its neck. Similarly, redeem every firstborn son. When your children ask, 'Why do we do this?' explain, 'The Lord delivered us from slavery in Egypt with his mighty hand. When Pharaoh stubbornly refused to release us, the Lord struck down the firstborn in Egypt, both human and animal. This is why I offer the firstborn to the Lord and redeem my firstborn sons. This will be like a mark on your hand and a symbol on your forehead, reminding you that the Lord brought us out of Egypt with his mighty hand." When Pharaoh finally let the Israelites go, God chose not to lead them through the shorter route via Philistine territory, fearing they might face war and lose heart, returning to Egypt. Instead, he guided them through the desert road toward the Red Sea. The Israelites left Egypt equipped for battle. Moses took Joseph's bones with him, fulfilling the oath the Israelites had sworn. As Joseph had said, "God will surely come to your aid, and you must carry my bones out of this place." After leaving Sukkoth, they camped at Etham, on the edge of the desert. By day, the Lord led them with a pillar of cloud, and by night, he provided light with a pillar of fire so they could travel at any time. The pillar of cloud and fire never left its place in front of the people.